I had been quietly harboring feelings for Sarah for about 3 years, when her younger sister suddenly showed up on my radar. Chloe was known for being the rebellious type, a rich girl who usually spent her time dyeing her hair jet black and participating in dangerous extreme sports. But almost overnight, she quit the adrenaline junkie lifestyle, stopped driving her fast cars, and started following me around the office, sweetly calling me her senior and acting like a completely different person. It was obvious to everyone in the building that she had developed a crush on me. Sarah noticed it too, of course. One afternoon, she walked over and handed me a file folder, making a comment about how it was good that Chloe was finally motivated to do something productive. She told me to just humor her sister a little bit. At the time, it felt like a pointless exercise. Later that same day, Sarah got a bit tipsy at a company gathering and started complaining about a stomachache. I was worried, but then I heard a man's voice in the background asking who she was talking to. I took a deep, shaky breath and let out a dry chuckle, realizing I was just being used to cheer up her sister while she was out living her life. Today marked the 3rd time Chloe had brought materials to my desk. I kept my head down, focusing intently on the papers to avoid making eye contact with that intense stare of hers. I spent the next hour teaching her the ropes, bit by bit, trying to keep everything strictly professional. When we finally wrapped up the session, she handed me a glass of water. It was exactly the right temperature, not too cold, not too warm. Chloe smiled at me, a sweet expression that looked a bit like a fawn expecting a treat. "Thirsty, senior?" she asked. My colleagues nearby started throwing teasing looks in our direction. I felt my face heat up slightly, a mix of embarrassment and a little bit of appreciation. I decided to tease her back just to break the tension. "Pretty thoughtful of you," I said. "Did you actually understand everything I just explained?" Chloe raised an eyebrow with a confident look. She leaned across the desk, invading my personal space just enough to be noticeable, but not enough to be inappropriate. I wasn't sure what perfume she was wearing, but the scent was warm and pleasant, like sunshine. I found myself spacing out for a second until her voice snapped me back to reality. "Done," she said. "Impressive, right?" I pretended to calmly check her work, scanning the documents. Sure enough, everything was filled out correctly. Chloe looked at me expectantly, clearly waiting for some kind of praise. I avoided looking her in the eye and just gave a stiff nod. "You learn fast," I muttered. When Chloe walked away, looking a little disappointed by my lackluster reaction, my buddy Jason rolled his chair over to my desk. "Man, Mark, are you blind? Can't you tell she likes you?" Jason whispered. "You've got your career on track. It's time to focus on your personal life, too. When I first met her, she was covered in piercings and had that attitude. She's calmed down and played nice specifically for you these past 3 months." Seeing that I was starting to drift off and ignore him, he pushed harder. "Besides, she's smart. She's obviously a romantic. She comes from a good family, and she's basically rolling in money." He rambled on, genuinely trying to be a helpful wingman, but he didn't understand the situation. I couldn't be with Chloe. It wasn't because she wasn't a great girl, but because there was already someone else taking up space in my heart. Later, after delivering coffee to Sarah's office, I turned to leave. Just as I reached the door, she called me back. I did a quick mental check of my tasks and realized there wasn't anything work-related we needed to discuss one-on-one. I felt a tiny spark of hope. If it wasn't about work, maybe she wanted to talk about something personal. "Did Chloe bother you today?" Sarah asked. So she just wanted to ask about her sister after all. I pushed down the disappointment rising in my chest and gave a professional report. "No, she just had a couple of questions about the filing system." Sarah laughed a little. 3 months in and she's still asking questions? What was that degree from Imperial College for? The truth was, Chloe wasn't dumb. In fact, she was sharp, sweet, and incredibly thoughtful. She knew exactly when to ask questions to save me when I was drowning in paperwork. Those questions weren't pointless. They were her way of letting me take a breather. Plus, the little snacks and treats she brought had actually kept my spirits up. But it was obvious to everyone that she was trying to win me over. I avoided Sarah's eyes, not wanting to have a conversation about how being liked by my crush's sister was an awkward situation. Sarah didn't see it that way. She spoke slowly, her tone shifting. She's always been a thrill seeker because she doesn't feel things the way normal people do. Reckless sports, driving way too fast. She ended up in the intensive care unit several times. We've worried about her a lot. Sarah usually wasn't this chatty, but she seemed to be in a mood today. I wasn't exactly happy to hear this. When I first became her secretary, being sharp and efficient got me praise. Now, I wished I was a little less perceptive, so maybe her words wouldn't hit so deep. I blurted out an excuse, letting a bit of emotion slip through. Sorry, Sarah, I've got urgent work to finish. Maybe you should talk to someone else. I tried to leave, but Sarah pinned me down with her next words. I need a favor, Mark. As a friend, not as a secretary, but as the Mark who has been with me from school all the way to this workplace. She was referencing when she first joined the company and faced immense pressure. Back then, she would say, Mark, they're bullying me. Will you stay with me? But now, I hated that she was using that history as leverage. It felt like my feelings were just a card she could play when it was convenient. Maybe this was the ultimate disappointment. I felt myself go cold, shifting into the mode of a compliant subordinate. Okay, what is it? Sarah frowned, seemingly confused by my sudden coldness, but she quickly composed herself. After being at the top for so long, she was a master at separating emotions from decisions. She handed me a credit card. Chloe rarely gets motivated, Mark. Could you cheer her up for me? Consider this your reward. You don't have to accept her confession or actually date her. Just keep her interested, okay? I interrupted her, brushing off her look of surprise. Just keep her interested. Got it. I agreed to it just like I used to agree to do her homework back in school. I carried that agreement confidently all day until we left the office. I was feeling pretty down when Chloe caught up to me in the parking lot. I was already a little irritated. Got other plans, Chloe? I asked. Chloe seemed completely unfazed by my tone. Yeah, like going to the beach. Want in? It was so random that my anger hit a wall. My temper simmered down to confusion. Why? She just gave me a look. Why should I tell you why when you won't tell me why you're in a bad mood? I rolled my eyes. No reason to hang out with you. Weirdly, around Chloe, I felt more like myself. Maybe that was the power of not actually being interested in someone. You don't feel the need to perform. Chloe seemed keen on seeing the real me. After we exchanged a few glances, she gave in. All right, do what you want. Just show me a smile and I'll tell you why. Her eyes were full of affection. Chloe was objectively really attractive, like the ideal childhood friend everyone fantasizes about. It made my face feel a bit warm, so I forced a smile. Are you going to say it or not? If not, I'm leaving. I pretended to walk away. Sure enough, I only got a couple of steps before she grabbed my wrist. Chloe spoke like it was the most obvious thing in the world. You don't need a reason to look at the ocean. You just go when you want to. Sarah was a total workaholic, and after becoming her personal assistant, I ended up working late with her constantly. We were usually the last ones to leave the office, but now my job description had seemingly switched to being about Chloe. Today was the first time I was off work this early, and the first time I had ever chased a sunset by car. We parked by the sea, looking out at the vastness of the water. Listening to the rhythmic sound of the waves made my heart feel calm. I didn't even notice when Chloe moved closer and touched my face. I waited for her to start asking questions like a curious kid. I was halfway tempted to spill everything about Sarah, but before I knew it, she magically produced a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. She looked so full of herself that I couldn't help but laugh. "You're always so thoughtful," I said. We drank wine and watched the last sliver of the sun sink into the ocean. It felt like nothing in the world was permanently broken. The sky would darken, but then it would brighten again. I turned my head to look at Chloe properly. From the first time I met her, I always thought her nose looked like Sarah's, and her lips had that same cold shape. But now I noticed her eyes were bigger than Sarah's. She had a tiny, faint mole on her upper lip that disappeared when she smiled, and cute little freckles across her nose, totally different from her sister. I couldn't help but reach out and touch her ear. It was full of piercings. Chloe was very sensitive there. Her neck and face turned red immediately, but she lowered her head obediently, making it easier for me to touch her. She looked like some little animal caught by its weak spot. She explained quietly, "Don't let it scare you. It didn't hurt at all. The doctor said I have a high tolerance. Having all these done at once didn't even get infected." I didn't say anything. I just waited until she nervously glanced at me. Her eyelashes were long, like a fawn's. Suddenly, I started laughing. "Chloe, try chasing me if you dare." I kind of regretted saying that the moment it left my mouth. Part of me felt guilty. I shouldn't be using Chloe to get over old heartbreaks. I could tell she genuinely liked me. Feeling this guilt, I couldn't turn down her request to come over to my place for dinner. We went to the grocery store to buy some meat and vegetables. Back at my apartment, I was in the kitchen making noodles. Chloe was useless with cooking, so she was squatting by the kitchen door with my big golden retriever, Buster. "Can Dad really make noodles, Buster? Have you tried them?" she whispered to the dog. I rolled my eyes. "Quit barking and go play on the couch." Chloe took the playful reprimand well, her nose scrunching in mock defeat as she retreated to the living room. I thought it was funny and relaxed a bit, but in less than a minute she was back with an excuse, sounding smug. "Your phone's ringing." I was occupied with the noodles, so I gestured for her to put it on speaker. It was Sarah. "Mark, do you have the latest proposal for the bid? Could you bring it to the office?" she asked, sounding exhausted. She probably thought I was still at the company like usual. I felt a mix of emotions and didn't know what to say. Chloe, however, looked annoyed. She whispered loudly enough for me to hear, complaining about Sarah making people go back to the office after hours just for some files, calling her a heartless boss. The line went silent for a moment. Then Sarah asked, her voice heavy, "You're at his place?" I took the phone, motioned for Chloe to grab the noodle tray, and evaded the question. I responded in my practiced, professional tone. "The proposal is on my desktop. If it's urgent, you can go grab a copy." Sarah's voice was dry. "It's late." "You have her there, don't you? You know she likes you." I was momentarily distracted, watching Chloe clumsily handle the hot tray with her bare hands. She walked so slowly, taking time to tease the dog, seemingly not fearing the heat at all. Furrowing my brow, I set the phone down abruptly and took the tray from her. Her palms were bright red. I rushed her to the sink to run her hand under cold water, ignoring whatever Sarah was saying on the phone. Despite the situation, Chloe shouted happily like an innocent kid, "Of course he knows! He even agreed I could chase him today!" The sound of the running water drowned out Sarah's response. I glared at Chloe, a bit irritated. "You can't even hold a tray? Are you a kid?" Chloe whimpered like a small puppy interacting with its owner, seeming to slightly enjoy the attention. I just held it steady. Anyway, it doesn't actually hurt. I paused, remembering what Sarah had said about her condition of not feeling pain. Only then did I realize how dangerous it actually was. Not sensing danger meant losing the instinct to avoid it, getting hurt without even knowing it. Chloe noticed my change in mood and tried to shift the topic, sounding a bit cheeky. Well, it does hurt a bit, but only if you don't blow on it. In the end, I didn't blow on it. Chloe sat on the floor looking a bit indignant, her hand now adorned with some dog food I had prepared for Buster. Her palm kept getting licked by the puppy's saliva over and over. I sat on the sofa looking at her aggrieved gaze and chuckled, nudging her side with my foot. Does it still hurt? Chloe did have a bit of a cleanliness thing. Her voice was muffled and unhappy. Nope. Only then did I squat down, petting Buster's head. Go eat, good dog. Buster wagged his tail like crazy and headed off to find his real meal bowl. I turned back to Chloe, amused, and noticed she wasn't washing her hands. Aren't you going to wash up? Her bright eyes held a bit of resentment. Am I disobedient? I thought about it, shrugged, and nodded hesitantly. Chloe looked more put out now, loudly questioning me. Then why don't I get a reward? I was slow to understand. I looked at Buster and back at her, feeling ridiculous. You want Buster's dog food? Chloe ground her teeth. Who wants to eat that dog food? You didn't even pet my head. Mark, you're biased. She leapt at me. I toppled backward onto the carpet, terrified she might smear dog drool on my face. Chloe propped herself up on her elbows, leaning forward and pressing her head beneath my chin, stubbornly demanding a pet. I obliged, stroking her hair. Her curls were soft and felt nice. Chloe's ears turned crimson, but she stubbornly refused to look up at me. I couldn't see her expression, just heard her pushing her luck. I played with Buster for a long time. Was she asking for a reward? I didn't get it. I went with the usual routine I had with the dog, giving a little reward. My hands hurt from holding the dishes, and then you bully me, she mumbled. This time I understood she was feeling wronged, so I stroked her hair again. Chloe seemed to like the taste of this, and even started asking for her reward in advance. I'll take out the trash when I leave later, the kitchen trash and the bathroom trash, and I'll wash the dishes and mop the floor. This time, I didn't respond. She rubbed my chin, dissatisfied, and I turned my head to see Sarah standing at the doorway. I hadn't even noticed her come in. This was Sarah's second visit since I bought this house. Chloe was wearing the only pair of women's slippers I had for guests. I didn't even think about letting Sarah in. I patted Chloe. Stop messing around. Your sister is here to pick you up. Face to face, the two sisters didn't seem close at all. Chloe reluctantly stood up and went to stand beside Sarah. Sarah, do you even understand boundaries? Chloe asked. Visiting after work? Trying to give me a scare? Sarah ignored her and bent down to pet the dog. Buster, do you still remember me? Buster, the golden retriever, stayed right by Chloe's side, ignoring Sarah completely. Sarah's hand missed, and she looked at me, puzzled. It seemed she couldn't understand. Back when we brought Buster home together, the dog was all over her. How did that change now? But I wasn't focused on her. I tossed the coat I had bought earlier to Chloe and reminded her, wash your jacket before giving it back. Wear this one. You can feel it's cold outside, right? Chloe obediently put on the coat. It was a bit big on her. She wore it haphazardly, not even straightening the collar. I couldn't stand the messy look and helped her fix it. Chloe obediently lowered her head, making it easier for me. I gently patted her head. Good girl. I turned to face Sarah, whose face had turned pale. She called my name in a confused tone. Mark. She seemed like she wanted to say more, waiting for me to guess what was on her mind. But I didn't have the patience for guessing games anymore. I forced a smile, feigning politeness. Sorry, Sarah, did you say something just now? Sarah's face turned even whiter. In the car, Chloe took off the coat and inhaled deeply. Her cheeks were a bit flushed, like a dog fond of its owner's scent. Sarah looked at her with disgust, speaking coldly. What, pretending to be a dog now? Chloe kept smiling, appearing easygoing. Sarah, are you mad you couldn't be a dog, so you're taking it out on me? I could find you an owner. There's got to be someone blind enough to like your dull and pretentious self. Among those people, Chloe, you think if he knew the real you, he'd still treat you the same? What's the act for? You emotionless freak? Chloe's smile disappeared completely. She looked somber and piercing. What? You tried to push Mark to confess, but he didn't. He chose to comfort me instead, and now you're breaking down? Sarah's hand gripped Chloe's neck forcefully. Shut up! If you hadn't deceived me, how could I— Chloe felt no pain, sensing no danger. Did I force you? I just exchanged a harbor project with you. Now that the project's in your hands, suddenly I've deceived you? Making sure that the marks on her neck wouldn't fade by tomorrow, Chloe then punched Sarah in the stomach. She looked down at her sister's embarrassment, pain evident on Sarah's face. In the end, it's because you're too arrogant. Always used to being the one chosen, forgetting to cherish it. You've received too much love, so you've forgotten how precious it is. You've been spoiled, Sarah. So you knew he'd be hurt and still gambled with me because you were greedy, wanting both. But I'm different. I only want him. The next day, Chloe wasn't at work. I was worried and called her from the break room. It took her a while to answer. Her voice was hoarse, like she was being coy. Mark? I knew right away something was wrong. I asked, frowning, were you wearing that coat yesterday, like you were supposed to? Chloe hesitated, sounding oppressed. Tell me the truth. She finally admitted, I wore it, but Sarah and I had a fight on the way. We were somewhere remote, and I waited a long time for a ride. After that, she started coughing hard. I asked again, have you taken your medicine? There was silence on the other end. I snapped, leaving a quick command. Just wait there. Back in the office, I noticed flowers on my desk. Jason grinned mischievously. No wonder you turned down Chloe. You've got eyes for someone, huh? Our boss? She fits you just right. I was annoyed. What was the point of Sarah doing this? When I had a crush on her, I didn't say anything because I cared about my job and future. But now she was making it public, and people were gossiping behind my back, calling me arrogant. I handed the flowers to Jason. Toss these out for me. I'll get you your favorite dessert later. Also, let everyone know I have a girlfriend, and it's not her. Jason's eyes lit up with gossip. Got it, boss. I breathed a sigh of relief, grabbing my keys to leave. Thanks to Sarah's advice to check on Chloe, I didn't even have to take time off. I didn't expect to open the door to Chloe's apartment and get a surprise. She was barely wrapped in a towel, and the room's temperature was set way too low. She looked listless, her lips pale from the fever. She pleaded for comfort. So hot. I was suddenly glad I came. Otherwise, Chloe could have ended up in the hospital from a fever. I raised the heat and wrapped her up in a blanket like a burrito. Finally, I felt a bit at ease. Chloe had a fever patch on her forehead and was still stubbornly holding a thermometer. She looked at me, pouting. This hot, uncomfortable. I want a shower. A vein throbbed in my forehead. The thermometer read 103.1 degrees. I even doubted if she did this to herself intentionally, not feeling pain, just hot and fatigued, and making it worse by showering too much. Not to mention setting the air conditioning so low. Getting angrier, I ruffled her curls. "You're so good at taking care of others. How'd you manage to mess yourself up this bad?" Chloe refused to go to the hospital no matter what. After much coaxing, I managed to get her to take some medicine. She was sitting all the way on the other side of the sofa. It made me smile, and I had an urge to pinch her cheek. Suddenly, Chloe warned me in her muffled voice. "You're low on immunity. You'll catch it." Still, I inched closer to her until I could feel the heat from her head through the blanket pressed against my stomach. Her whole body stiffened. I gently massaged her temples with my fingers. "I tell you to close your eyes and sleep. It'll be fine. Just be a good girl." I didn't know what had changed for Chloe that day. She started asking for rewards and didn't like her head being touched. Instead, she would kneel down, resting her forehead against my stomach. Because of that moment, I owed her a favor. These days, she had become a regular in my kitchen, not just hanging around, but actually cooking the meals. As the workday ended, Chloe texted me, "How about sweet and sour ribs, shrimp with vermicelli, and some greens tonight?" I loved those dishes, but I had to turn her down with a heavy heart. "Got a class reunion dinner tonight. Don't wait for me." Just when I was about to type something more, Sarah appeared at my desk. Her eyes looked hopeful. "Mark, I'm driving. Want to come along?" My gaze turned flat. "There's no point. People will misunderstand." As I was about to walk past, she gripped my wrist. "Do you have to be so cruel to me?" Now I was confused, questioning her sanity. We never even started anything. I had just stepped back to being a secretary, so what was so cruel about that? Still, given the generous salary and the check that amply covered my emotional damages, I bit my tongue. Giving her a practiced smile, I said, "We're just colleagues. I don't understand what you mean." Yet inside, I was pondering if it was time to find a new job. We hit traffic, and Sarah and I arrived late. Only 2 seats remained, side by side. Not wanting to make a fuss, I took one. Sarah's eyes shone for some reason I couldn't fathom. Ignoring her, I critiqued the food internally, thinking Chloe could cook better. No surprise for someone who had studied abroad. Once everyone arrived, they started catching up. I learned that the class president and the sports rep were getting engaged next month. After congratulating them, I noticed eyes darting between Sarah and me. "You two haven't been questioned yet," someone said. "Secretly married, maybe? In college, we all noticed you guys were a bit off. Mark doesn't care this much for others, and now you're at the same company together. It's convenient." "No way. There's nothing going on," I said. Sarah blushed. "I'm still chasing him," she tried to say, but I cut in immediately. "Just colleagues. Nothing more. My girlfriend gets jealous easily." The room went silent before my friends broke the tension. "Nice. Dating someone younger, huh? Got a picture? Let's see which pretty lady snagged you." "I always thought you should date younger," another friend added. "You're too reserved. You need someone direct to shake things up." "Yeah, you have no clue how many underclassmen asked for your number back then. Could have had 7 or 8 relationships by now if you wanted." The conversation shifted, sidelining Sarah completely. As the group moved to another venue, everyone had had a bit to drink. I decided against tagging along and sent Chloe my location. She responded instantly with a cute meme of a saluting dog. The night got chilly, and I pulled my coat tighter. Out of nowhere, Sarah handed me a warm drink. She hadn't left either. I thanked her, accepting it. "You're waiting for her," Sarah stated confidently. I didn't respond, which seemed to irritate her. You never really liked me, Mark. I didn't know why she was feeling this way, but I had wanted to clarify things for a while. What is love? Abandoning dignity and career? I can't do that. Sarah's voice caught. But you never said you liked me. I chuckled dryly. Why do I have to say it? You didn't seem sure we were on the same page, so how could I be sure? Out of school, you're my boss. I'm your assistant. You have the advantage. As a subordinate, what would confessing mean for me? Am I risking my career? Sarah, why can't I be afraid? Why should I risk it for you? Don't be immature. Separate personal feelings from work, just like you always have. By the time Chloe picked me up, the drink was cold. I tossed the cup. I watched Chloe as she drove, staring until her face turned beet red. Defeated, she pulled over. She covered my eyes with her palm, resting her head on my shoulder, sounding deflated. Don't stare at me like that. I grinned cheekily. What? Does it distract you? No, it makes me want to kiss you, she said. Cover any trace of others on you. Now it was my turn to blush. Even now, Chloe's straightforwardness got me every time. I just mumbled, "You're like a little puppy, clingy and whiny." Chloe latched on to a different point. What kind of dog? A golden retriever? Your favorite? She had got me soft, warming her way into my heart until I was warm and cuddly. I petted her just like I did with Buster, on the head, ears back, face, and finally her chin. Good girl. Red spread across Chloe's cheeks astonishingly fast, even staining her eyes. She shyly held my hand and tucked it under her sweatshirt, against her stomach. You haven't petted my stomach. Half sighing, I indulged her, finding her skin soft. Maybe she was a tad too excited. She buried her head into me again. I really, really like you. I couldn't quite grasp how we had ended up here. It started with us snuggled on the couch watching Chloe's old clips. She was always into extreme sports. In the most dangerous clip, her car nearly plunged off a cliff. We saw another where she broke her collarbone on a ski slope. There was blood on the pristine snow. She barely registered the pain, walking to the stretcher herself. It was too much for me. I hid my face against her. Chloe held me and comforted me. I'm still here, you know. I'm right in front of you, aren't I? Does it hurt? I asked her. Chloe raised her eyebrow and pulled down her collar, revealing a scar on her collarbone. It's all healed now. You can try biting it. I gave her a look and impulsively leaned down and kissed it. It was gentle. Just as I was about to pull back, Chloe pressed my back down. Her breath picked up, and she acted all pitiful. Still hurts a bit. Comfort me a little more. Lately we had been acting pretty much like a couple, but the most we had done was just head pats and some teasing. Chloe had this condition where she didn't feel much pain, but in this kind of thing, she was super sensitive. So just like that, she got flustered several times, and a kiss, occasionally giving one as a reward, wasn't out of the question. I licked my lips and asked with a hint of mischief, "Is Buster asleep?" Chloe's breathing got heavier, and she let her actions speak. Her lips crushed down on mine, and I involuntarily parted my lips, letting in an overwhelming warmth. I felt a bit dizzy from lack of oxygen. "Why are you so hot everywhere?" I murmured. Chloe was eager yet careful not to hurt me. She teased my emotions and helped me relax. It was late, and she showed me through actions that she was completely okay now. You'd expect that from someone younger. Once she experiences the real thing, she never settles for less. Head pats used to be enough. Now, when she heard reward, it had a whole new meaning. She even started pushing boundaries. Sarah called just when I just had an intense moment with Chloe. Chloe was helping me with a bath. I was exhausted, and I'd raise an arm or leg whenever she asked. But this weirdo got all thrilled once more. When I noticed, my sleepiness vanished. I splashed water at her, jokingly yelling, "What a golden retriever! You're practically a reincarnated poodle." Chloe knew she was at fault, and just when I thought she felt sorry, she suddenly knelt by the bed deviously. She had a tie around her neck and handed it to me. "Boss, punish your puppy." After sleeping together for so many nights, I somewhat understood what she wanted. I applied a bit of force with my foot, and Chloe let out a muffled moan, her eyes turning red. Her appearance was that of a willing sacrifice. If I hadn't known she couldn't feel pain, only pleasure, I might have been fooled by her restrained act. Still, I couldn't help myself. I leaned down and kissed her. That's when Sarah called. I got a sly idea and signaled Chloe to be quiet before answering. Sarah's voice was backgrounded by noisy chatter, like at a bar. "Mark, can you come pick me up? My stomach hurts." "Mark." She kept repeating my name over and over. The call was on speaker. I stayed silent and sent the location she forwarded to her driver. Just as I was about to hang up, I sensed Chloe's hand getting mischievous. I let out a soft moan. Sarah heard it, and frustration spiked in her voice. "What are you doing? Who are you with?" I wasn't interested in soothing her. I ground into Chloe for a second, leaving a parting shot. "Entertaining my sister." I hung up, then got back to chastising my disobedient little puppy. I made it clear I was supposed to be playing with her, not the other way around. I never would have guessed I'd introduce Chloe to my family so impulsively. We had just finished walking the dog, and as I opened the door, there was a whole table filled with food. My mom and Sarah were there, laughing together. After Sarah showed up uninvited last time, I had changed the lock code. Her being here now was clearly my mom's doing. I sighed. I hadn't told my mom about the rift between Sarah and me. She probably assumed things were like back in college. Sarah looked worn out. I heard she'd ended up in the hospital with internal bleeding after a drinking binge. She brightened up seeing me, but quickly noticed me holding Chloe's hand, and somberly said, "I came to find you. Didn't expect Auntie to be here. It wasn't on purpose." I had no idea what she was whining about. I rolled my eyes internally, but didn't say anything in front of my mom. I introduced Chloe. "Mom, this is my girlfriend, Chloe." Chloe, nervous, gave a 90-degree bow. "Hello, Auntie." But my mom skipped her and pinched my cheek. "You've lost weight." Total nonsense. Jason had mentioned I'd actually put on a little happy weight. But I got what she meant. She wasn't thrilled about Chloe. Chloe was on high alert, looking pale. I felt a pang of pity and squeezed her hand to ease her nerves. Just after sitting down, my mom handed Chloe her second slide, seating me next to Sarah and Chloe across from us. I held back and didn't comment. Saying something now would only heighten my mom's disapproval. Before meals, I always have a bowl of soup, but today, faced with a lethal amount of scallions floating in it, I started wondering if my mom had an undisclosed favorite child. Anybody who knew me knew I hated scallions. Chloe took the lead and scooped herself some soup. She hesitated, glanced at my mom, and then courageously began picking out the scallions. Picking out food in front of family was definitely a strike against you. Sarah, putting on her big sister act, chided Chloe. "You're an adult. Still a picky eater? No manners at all." She set a bowl of soup in front of me, whispering, "Warm up your stomach." About that time, Chloe had finished sorting her soup. She glanced at it and softly pointed out, "Sarah, you do know Mark doesn't eat scallions, right?" She wore an innocent look, but I saw the gleam of mischief in her eyes. Not to mention right then, my mom offered a piece of rib to Chloe. "So, Chloe, what does your family do?" Definitely a sign of acceptance. Chloe's posture straightened right up, ready to spill her family history. I sipped my soup and finally felt its impact. Chloe had passed my mom's test. With the door shut behind us later, Chloe collapsed into my arms, tearfully sulking. I gently played with her ears, recalling my mom's earlier words to me in private. "Mark, Chloe seemed sweet, but with all those piercings, was she in a gang before?" Mystery solved. No wonder she started out cold to Chloe. I repeatedly reassured her that Chloe had no such past, and she finally relaxed. I was curious about something. I held Chloe's cheeks and looked closely at her lips. The lip ring was gone. It had been months, and only a small hole remained. I couldn't help it. I asked the obvious question. "Does water leak through it?" Chloe had a blank expression. "Want to try?" With a bizarre sense of exploration, we kissed slowly. The kiss changed. It seemed like Chloe wanted to keep going. I snapped back to reality, took a breath, and stopped her. "My mom's still here. Handle it yourself." Chloe buried her head in my chest for a moment before getting up. I thought she was going to handle it herself, and I felt relieved. Then she started taking off her clothes. No way that was happening. We just got my mom's approval, and I felt so insecure about getting caught. I raised an eyebrow. "So?" Chloe's intentions became clear as her innocent doe eyes blinked. "You still owe me a wish." The next morning, the first thing I did was kick Chloe out of bed. "I'm Chloe, and I've been a weirdo since I was a kid. I didn't cry when I was born." The nurse smacked my butt red, but I was oblivious. Later, I got diagnosed with congenital insensitivity to pain. As a kid, I often got hurt, and my parents treated me like a fragile doll. I guess they loved me back then, but when they realized I never smiled at them or called them Mom and Dad, everything changed. I got another diagnosis: emotional incapacity. From then on, I had a new name: Freak. No kids my age wanted to play with me, and my parents saw me as a stain on their lives, ignoring and neglecting me. When I was 10, I got kidnapped. I came home covered in blood. They were celebrating Sarah's birthday. No one noticed I was missing. I wasn't sad, just hungry. I helped myself to some cake. My mom screamed and fainted, and from then on, fear joined the way they looked at me. Their attention was all on Sarah. They raised me to adulthood and couldn't wait to send me abroad. There, I completely embraced my nature. I fell in love with extreme sports. Only the feeling of being on the edge makes me feel alive. I initially didn't plan on coming back. I had money, friends, and a career overseas. But maybe extreme sports got boring. I figured a change of scenery, maybe scaring that so-called loving family a bit, might be fun. Then I got a surprise. The first time I saw Mark wasn't at the company. He had just finished working late. His eyes were red with exhaustion. After some small talk, my sister just left, driving away. Then he leaned against a railing and squatted down. It looked like he had a stomach ache. He looked fragile, pale even. He calmly took out some medicine from his bag. It was very cool. For the first time, I clearly felt my heart beat. In a moment of madness, I offered him a bottle of water. The smile on my face, even in a mirror, I'd find it disgusting. "Are you okay?" He was cautious. He didn't take the water. He shook his head and drove off. Yet, like a madwoman, I couldn't get his red eyes out of my mind. That night, I was unusually excited. There are so few things in this world that stir me, so I treasure every one of them. The next day, I traded a project with Sarah to get into the company as Mark's assistant. At first, it was just amusing. I thought I liked his vulnerable side, and wanted to watch the drama. I never expected to be the one falling. Just a bit of praise from him made my day. A touch from him was more thrilling than skydiving. Seeing him eat food I gave him was fulfilling. Seeing him in pain made my heart ache. It was pathetic. I've always lived carefree, rarely wanted anything. During that time, I wanted his attention on me alone. So once again, I took a project to Sarah. The benefits of the port projects didn't need much selling. She didn't need to know if the project would later implode. Of course, Sarah hesitated just for a moment before agreeing to say those words to Mark. She had too much love and confidence, but I saw Mark's feelings for her were like a candle about to go out, fragile against the next splash of cold water. What I didn't expect was that he would cry, crying silently in the sea breeze. I'm good with sweet talk, but in that moment, I was lost. That missing sense of pain seemed to come back to me. It gave more meaning to my life. Maybe I'm meant to make Mark happy. He'll never know. If it weren't for his words then, I might have let go a long time ago. After a friend I used to race with called me, I was in my cozy haven. I kissed my brother's cheek. Nah, I'm afraid of dying now. I hung up and snuggled into his arms. His eyes were still closed. He gently ruffled my hair. Content, I squinted my eyes. I found my soul's home, my safest harbor, never wanting to leave. So I'll live well, guarding Mark, living well.
Lo schivo. Senti, bellissimo. A posto. Ho sbagliato. Esatto. Stucchete. E stucchete. No. Oh cazzo. Vabbè, se riesco... Far ridere questa cosa. Certo. Bello. Mortissimo, mortissimo. Funziona. Ho messo i death counter. Quando pare abbiamo fatto 37 morti off live.